joining me. My name is Dustin Ancheta. I am the lead guide and cultural navigator for Manila For A. I'm also founder of Cultural Intelligence Philippines, the premier cultural intelligence agency here in the country, taking over Art Plus magazine for the next hour. I'm really happy to be here, and I hope that we can have an engaging conversation today. Now, first things first, a lot of you probably don't know me. Let's start with why I'm here. I'm here because I was featured in Art Plus issue number 56, right? This cover. Yeah. Read all about us right here. You can download this cover right now. You can download this issue right now if you go to Art Plus new magazine website and get it there from their web store. It's a fun place. Lots of the back issues are also there, so feel free to log in there. And again, it's issue number 56. So, first things first, who am I? Why am I here? What do I do? Like I said, my name's Dustin. I am a cultural intelligence expert, a historian, and I lead a tour company that became the #1 guided walking tour company 3 years ago. I actually have a series of questions sent to me by Artlas. I should probably get on that first. Right. Tell us about your journey as a tour guide. Yeah, as a tour navigator, as a cultural navigator, a tour guide. I got started as a tour guide from the Department of Tourism, roughly, 12 or so years ago. About 12 or so years ago, the Philippine Department of Tourism created this amazing training program that was supposed to create the best of the best VIP tour guides. The idea was that when VIPs come to the country, they would have people that was so good and so well versed in the Philippines that they could engage in diplomats, state visitors, and really the VIPs of the country. It was a great program. 21 of us graduated from that program. Unfortunately, it was also on the tail end of President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo's term. And while we really got a lot of great experiences from it, when President Macapagal-Arroyo's term ended, the program also kind of went into limbo, and we had to make our own way. So a lot of us went back to our old jobs. I ended up trying to find a job in the tour industry, went to a few agencies, even got hired by a massive Australian company, got sent to Bangkok for training, eventually started going around the provinces doing expeditions. That was so fun. 21 days all over the Philippines, going up mountains, sleeping with indigenous tribes. I funded a company called Manila For A, and we focused on creating in-depth guided tours of Intramuros and Manila to focus on the culture of the Filipino people today and trying to explain them particularly to visitors, foreign visitors that really want to dive in there and don't just want to talk about the dates, names, and the times. And that's how Manila For A came about. Now, roughly around 2018, end of 2018, we expanded to what's called Cultural Intelligence Philippines. We now provide insight to multinational companies using history and culture of the Filipinos to try to manage their Philippine teams better, to create a more harmonious working environment. So we do a little bit of HR training. The guiding is still the best part of the job, of course, but we've expanded to those different segments as well. That's me, just a quick introduction. It's really all about guiding today, so tell us more about your more memorable guiding experience. I've been guiding for over 12 years. Last stats I've handled more than 7,000 tourists in those 12 years. But everyone, I would say, is a memorable experience. But I guess there are really those that stand out. I guided the Queen of Spain. Yeah, that was so. I still can't forget about that. And it was very early in my career as well, so I was a little bit of a neophyte. Didn't really know what I was doing, but it was fun. I can always say that I guided the Queen of Spain. That was amazing for me. But ultimately, what I really States, and she's an actress. She performs in theater in New York. And she felt very disconnected to her culture and her people, to the Filipinos. So she took our tour, our 3GX tour, God Golden Glory Extended Tour. And by the end of the tour, when we were sharing the halo-halo, just talking, having a conversation, talking about her experience, she was trying to express how the tour allowed her to connect with herself so much, to her culture so much, that she really started tearing up. She started sobbing a little bit. And that was really just, I still can't forget about that. Chris, if you're watching, can't forget about you guys. Who else? Cheska, Nika, Hero, you know who you guys are. They actually came to a tour in the blazing hot sun of Intramuros in full Telno and Barong Tagalog. They are the only one of the 7,000 plus tourists I've handled. They are the only group that has gone to a tour in full Filipiniana. I mean, who can forget about that? That's an amazing experience as well. There's a lot more, of course, but yeah, those are some of the more memorable ones of my guiding career. Okay. How did the lockdown affect you? What kept you busy during ECQ? How are you adapting to the new normal? And how do you see life in the time of COVID-19? Let's see. The lockdown was devastating, both personally and professionally. Professionally, of course, tourism is hibernating, if you will. We're bouncing back. We're going to get back to it. That much is for sure. The Filipinos, our industry is incredibly resilient, but it literally meant that my main source of income and what I love the most really just died. So it really affected me personally in terms of what I do, mental health, as well, suffered from it. I think all of us collectively suffered from it as well. And we adapted by just taking our tours and the concepts that we do in online. We created online learning programs in modules. You can visit Cultural Talents Philippines to learn more. And now we teach the same concepts there. It's a great place to really learn about the Philippines the way we teach it. And that's our new normal. Almost everyone's doing that as well. How do I see us in the age of COVID-19? Let's put it this way. The Philippines, we've never really been quote-unquote too normal. Our society, if we had more time, our society is really abnormal to begin with. And I'm sure you feel that as well. So it allows us to become a very adaptable people. And I would say that that's how I see us that's how I see life in the time of COVID-19. We will adapt. We will find ways to be better. We will find ways to survive and thrive. Right? Oh, people are saying hi. Hi Bea. Hi Don. Oh, hi Bea. Hi Don. Thanks for being here. I love it. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you have any questions, please go on, just shoot them out right there. I have an hour with you guys, and I'd be happy to engage. Yeah. So let's see. What's keeping you busy now? I'm still teaching. I love it. I don't see myself stopping from it. I established Manila For A and CQPH because I want to teach without restrictions. And ironically, being able to teach online actually makes it easier for me because I don't have to go through the traffic of going through Intramuros and back during rush hours. And it's a little bit easier. So that's literally what I've been busy with. Over the last 90 days, because of the ACQ and eventually the GCQ, we created a full crash course on Philippine history. It is an 8-module course, 11 hours long, taking you from 750,000 BCE all the way up to the EDSA Revolution. Oh, hey there, Ronan Vampire. Oh, I know that. That's VJ. Hey guys, thanks for supporting me. Thanks for showing up. So yeah, that's what's been keeping me busy. I tried to pivot also. I launched a online grocery company, but that's not anyway artistic. So we're not gonna talk about that. Ask me some questions. Let's have a conversation about Philippine culture and history. Hey Andre, hi. Thanks so much for showing up. Yeah, thanks for watching. Alright, please tell us us about other ongoing or upcoming projects? Oh, that is a wonderful question. Well, like I said, our main focus right now for CQPH and Manila For A is we don't want to stop teaching. We don't want to stop that flow of information even more now. So if you go to our website at culturalintelligence.ph, you will find there a syllabus to an 8-module course that goes for 11 hours. And over the next 8 weeks, we aim to teach you Philippine history as fast as possible, but as accurately as possible as well. If you've ever been into any one of our tours or into any one of the things that we do, you can be assured, as always, that one of our main guarantees is that we are the only company that really goes out of our way that says that anything you hear from our tours are academically citable. Right? And I'd like to give a quick shout out to my mentor and good friend Elaine Austria for making that happen. A historian that we have consulting with us who's been teaching history a lot longer than I have. He's been teaching history for 21 years and he's really integral to the team. Right, next question. Oh, I love this one. What is the role of art and culture and history in times of crisis? You know what? People actually, they don't realize how important the humanities are in times of crisis. They don't realize how definitive it could be for us. Right? Oh, hey Doc. Doc Murphy's watching. Hey there. Thanks so much for supporting me. Glad to see you here. Yeah. And history, just to get back to what we're talking about, history, art, literature, understanding culture, these can show us the path, the path forward, a way to predicting how we should be moving forward and acting forward and adjusting to times of crises. You have crisis, sorry. And you can just see how history defined the eras. History alone can show how the eras, the crisis in those eras define who we are today. For example, very popular philosophy right now is Stoicism by Emperor Marcus Aurelius. For those of you that have studied European history, you have Stoicism today because Marcus Aurelius survived 2 bouts of imperial plague. Like a series of plagues, 2 series of plagues hit the Roman Empire and he survived it. Imagine watching your people, millions of your people dying by the roadside every day, right? How that would affect a person like Emperor Marcus Aurelius, supposedly the most powerful human being at that time. The result, you have a whole philosophy that to this day we still use. Oh, we have a question. How are tours going to be implemented now? That is a great question. I think that's from my friend PJ. Yeah? Yeah. So, PJ, the tours specifically for us, for Manila For A, are currently on hold. We are waiting for clear and specific guidelines from the Department of Tourism and the Department of Health on first and foremost when that's going to come back, and 2, how that's going to come back in the time of COVID. But to be honest with you, we don't feel comfortable doing it even if it's allowed right now, right? So we'll probably not do it in person. Our focus right now is to implement it online in an interactive learning capacity. So that's why we have the online learning classes. We'll probably do some form of virtual tour system if we can get that technology together. So if anyone of you is watching that has that technology, get in touch. So, right. Any more questions before I keep answering the preset questions, you guys? Cool. Art gives us hope. I think that's the most important thing people neglect when you're in crisis. When you're in crisis, when your society is in a state of flux and chaos, everything is exactly that. It's chaotic. Your society shifts into survival mode. And the problem with that is that you neglect hope. And it's very easy to fall into depression, it's very easy to fall into hopelessness, and art shows us the persistence of humanity. People neglect it, but it's actually one of the most important things we need to keep intact in times like this. If you go back to your history and connect it to our history, a great example of this is World War II. How even at the worst portions of World War II, the powers that be at that time, whether they were the Nazis, the French resistance, the Japanese here, they were all fighting for who could get the best artworks in the world. Because art is meaningful. Whatever time, whatever position the world is in, whatever your society is going through at that moment. And literature, even more so. Because literature shows you an exact snapshot of what's literally happening in that era. Right? We know a first-hand view, for example, of the experience of being a Jewish girl in Nazi Germany because Anne Frank wrote her diary and we found it. You know, along with all the other manuscripts of that era. We know about the Justinian plague and how it ravaged the Roman Empire and how that resulted again with Marcus Aurelius and the Stoicism, the concepts of Stoicism, because people wrote about literature of that era. It's there. It's a reflection of the soul, the zeitgeist of that time. And that's the importance of these things in crisis. If you can understand them, you can adapt better and predict better and hopefully use the lessons in history and art and literature to implement and create solutions to the problem that makes sense. I hope that makes sense though. At least that's why I think those things are important in times of crisis. This is a nice question as well. How would you like to remember these times? Okay, this is gonna sound like one of those toxic positivity messages. So I hope it doesn't come off that way. Like, anyone who knows me, it's not about the kumbaya. We're all so happy. But these days, I hope people realize are days of collective trauma. People fail to realize that 92, 91 days ago, our whole lives were abandoned. Everything stopped. There was fear everywhere. There was uncertainty in every corner, mistrust, doubt, chaos. Even the richest among us had doubts about their food security. It created this series of collective trauma that most people don't realize was happening. Right? People weren't aware that they were living through a historical era. And that's how I want people to remember these times. 2019 to 2020 right now. Actually, further on, it's probably going to be 2 more years before they get the vaccine out. Is an era of collective trauma that we all went through. Right? We learned what was essential. We learned stillness. We learned to stop and listen. We learned that this world didn't need us. I think that's a great lesson to learn as well. Look at how everyone was, during the lockdown, everyone was posting about how beautiful the sky was, how blue it was, how much fresher the air was, how much there was no traffic, how lesser the traffic in EDSA was. So that's how I want the thing to be remembered, this whole situation to be remembered. As a historian, it is very rare to have been able to live through a historical period. And don't doubt that. You have lived through a historical period. 30, 40, 50 years from now, you are going to be asked by your grandkids, where were you during COVID-19? And what are you going to be able to say to them? What were you doing during the 60 days that people were dying by the thousands, right? For me, my reply for that would be a disappointment. I would say I was disappointed because I come from a family of doctors, 3 generations of doctors, and to my shame, I was too lazy to follow my grandfather's footsteps. I never became a doctor. I wish I could have served with the brave frontliners, risking their lives. Some of them literally dying because of the pandemic. That's one of my greatest shames. 30, 40 years from now, when maybe I'm writing my own history book or I'm being interviewed by my grandkids, I'm going to say with a tinge of sadness that I wish I took medicine. I could have been more help. I could have been there. So how do I want these days to be remembered? I'd ask you the same. How would you want to be able to say to your kids how you remember it? Because I remember this as the time that we learned what was essential, the time that we learned who was essential, right? Was it the fat cat CEOs that rule our countries, the politicians? Or was it the palenqueras that provided necessary food, that would deliver food and go around the exclusive subdivisions and the buildings in BGC, Ortigas, or Makati to deliver their wares? Was it the mango vendor that bikes from Antipolo down to MCS to sell a couple of kilograms of mangoes that we enjoyed during the summertime of the lockdown? That's how I want this era to be remembered. An era of reevaluation of our priorities, because that's what we're lacking in the Philippines. That is the damage in our culture that we never talk about. And a little bit of a shameless plug: if you join our course, our online course of Cultural Intelligence Philippines, that's a big part of what we teach. We teach people why the Filipinos are the way that they are today, why we are such an idiosyncratic country, why we seem so crazy, why society seems so weird. Have you ever considered how a country of brown-skinned people, are so racist? And we are, by the way. Oh, we have a question from Watermelon. Please have more of those live events. Yes, we will. We're definitely going to have more of those live events. Please subscribe. Find us on Facebook, where there's Manila For A, Cultural Intelligence Philippines. We have live webinars and events of different nature. Sometimes historical, sometimes things like this. But yeah, we talk about and dissect the culture of the Filipinos through the lenses of history. But like I was saying, just as a shameless plug, we study those things through history. And we explain how they became that way. Like racism. For an island tropical country composed of tan individuals, racism is very much present. But we mask it with classism, so people don't realize it's actually racism. We have a question from Doc Marv. I remember you connecting history to present time. Exactly. There you go. That's how you connect that. Right? Why are we so, what's that classism? You probably felt it. If you're tan skin, depends on how rich you are. If you're rich and you're tan, you're sun-kissed. Right? You have beautiful sun-kissed skin. If you're poor and you're tan, negra ka. So, I have allergies. I have eczema. I have atopic dermatitis. When I was growing up, I was well-to-do. We were middle class, so I had allergies. Right? The poor individuals who have it in the Philippines, they have galis. When I was growing up, I didn't understand what was the difference. Now I do. You know what the difference was? Classism. We look down on the poor. but we look down on the poor because historically it was taught to us that the Spanish race was superior. So if you go through our classes, we dissect that. That's on Module 3, Footholds of an Empire. Go to our website again for the syllabus. The Footholds of an Empire explains the hierarchies of the Spanish Empire, how the Peninsulares or the Spanish born in Spain were de facto greater than everyone, white people greater than everyone. But they were racist to the Spaniards born in the Philippines, the Insulares, who were then racist to the Filipino mestizos, who then passed down the racism to the Indios, so on and so forth. It was actually worse for the Filipino Chinese, the Sanghalese. They didn't even have rights in the Philippines. And it's this racism compounded over time that was added now to the classism brought about by European Victorian aristocracy that we still have today. And look at how we treat each other. You cut us, we all bleed red. But no, your skin is a little bit more brown, you live in a higher rise condominium, you have a gated subdivision, and suddenly you're better. Right? So it's these things that we try to study in the context of the Philippines. We try to look at history in context. We try to look at history as a link. Because history has so much more to teach us than the dates, than the names that they have us memorized, than the name of Magallanes' ship that sailed back, that survived the Victoria. It's that. History and culture, understanding it is essential for us to move forward. I was planning to quote Dr. Jose Rizal's often quoted remark here, but I feel like it's going to be so gas, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to answer this question. Right. If you want to go to if you want to check out the course, its link is this. Right, so bit.ly/course. Go ahead and check that out if you're interested. We start this Saturday, 2 p.m. Right? I hope you guys can join us and enroll in that course. Slots are limited as with all our courses. We limit the slots so you really learn a lot. And I hope to see you there because I'll have more time to really talk about the Philippines. Because we don't exist today as a vacuum. And we don't exist today as this crazy country. We didn't just come out like this. Why do we love individuals, presidents like President Marcos? Because as much as he became a dictator later on, he was elected. Hey, B just joined. Hey B, nice to have you. Thanks for watching. A couple of my friends logging in. Why did we have for people that suffered through 21 years of brutal dictatorship, we elected another authoritarian government, right? 16 million, the majority did so. Why are we attracted to fascist governments, or at the very least, to strongman politics? That's very important, right? Oh, hey, my dad's watching. Hey, pa. Hey, Tito Manchu. Hey, Tito Chu. Alright, I feel so supported right now. I love you guys. Right. That's what we teach. That's what we're into right now. That's our focus. Because we normally teach this, to be fair, we normally teach this on tour. It's really more fun to do it on the site when you see all these things come alive in the museums. When you go down into the dungeons of Fort Santiago. Oh, and a shout out to the Intramuros administration. By the way, Sir John, Clarissa, Jeff, you guys do a great job. I hope you guys are okay there. I hope the rapid testing in Intramuros is going well. Yeah. For people watching that are not yet in the know, just before COVID, they actually opened the dungeons of Fort Santiago to the public. Yes, you could actually go down to where the Filipino and American POWs were kept by the Japanese during World War II. It was such a heartbreaking place to visit. We were just about to bring people there. We brought about 6-7 groups before COVID hit. That was such a disappointing time. But yeah, that's what we teach. We teach Philippine history in context. For example, for those that just took the politics, because all we know about that is some white guy came to the Philippines and suddenly they're fighting. It's a lot deeper than that. Right? You don't just go into a place and start killing people. Magellan had his reasons. Nahumaban had his reasons for manipulating Magellan. Lapu-Lapu had his reasons. And people in Cebu actually hated Lapu-Lapu. He wasn't some great big hero to the Filipinos. There wasn't even a Philippines back then. So we put things into context. We put things into context as well of what was happening in Europe. Why they were driven to places like Latin America, to the Indian subcontinent, to here in the Philippines. We teach people about the growth of the empires of the world. It's all in context. And we are especially proud of the last lesson of that module. The 8th module is a discussion on the conjugal dictatorship of the Marcos era. A data-backed, research-backed module that really talks about how the Philippines could be so much better today had it not happened. Oh, we have a question, Mars. Have you seen the dungeons yourselves? Yes, countless times. I've been there countless times again, with great thanks to the Intramuros administration. Before it opened, they gave us previews. When it opened, I was there first. I was there. I loved it. When it opened, I was sure I was there first. I walked it a couple of times. They've only opened the stable sections of the dungeons. I'm hoping that eventually it continues. But it's one of the more heartbreaking places that you can ever see yourself in. If you're a Filipino, you have to visit it at least once. Preferably with a guide. Preferably with someone who knows the location. Or preferably you read about it before you go there first. It's really just an amazing place to be in. Intramuros, Manila itself, it's a great place. How much time do I have? Not plenty of time. So yeah, any questions, guys? Before I go back to my little cheat sheet right here. What else? Alright, so they told me to talk about what are my advice for some of the viewers. That's a little bit too general. You know what? I want to talk about mental health. I think advice we're going through, I touched on it earlier. I touched on collective trauma. I don't think I think a lot of us are not realizing that we are undergoing collective trauma right now. And you still are. You think the GCQ easing up, that you're still okay, that you're okay that you're okay already, you're doing fine, you may be feeling fine. But you have just gone through a traumatic event. And we are from a culture of very deep toxic masculinity, especially for men. So we don't see mental health as an important thing to process. And if you go to a traumatic event, it's important for you to process that. So as an advice, both as a human being and as a historian, I think it's incredibly important that you seek help. Whether you talk to a therapist or try to unload it with a counselor, find someone to talk to about your experience during the ECQ, how you felt. Find someone to process that your mental health is important right now. Keeping yourself sane is important right now. Humans we evolved to be social creatures. We're not meant to be cooped up in condominiums and houses for 90 days. We're not meant to not breathe fresh air. We're not meant to not be able to walk, even if you're breathing polluted air, to not be able to walk in wide open spaces. We're not meant to not be able to talk to other individuals outside of your family. That's why one of the most dehumanizing punishments in prisons is solitary confinement. Right? Historically speaking, that's one of the worst things, and psychologically speaking, it's one of the worst things you can do to a human being. Right? You've just gone through almost 90 days of that. For those of you that are immunocompromised, even worse. You couldn't even step out during GCQ. You're still in danger. Right? So I think it's very important to recognize that as well. And to recognize that if it's all you can do to be there right now, to exist, then that's it. Because I'm really seeing a lot of this, what's being termed as toxic positivity, that now that everything's quote-unquote returning sometimes things just suck. And COVID-19 just sucked big time. And let's just all recognize that. Like, let's just all recognize that life sucked for the last 2 months to 3 months, maybe for the next year more. And let's just do what we can and survive, right? Like, for fellow business owners like myself, don't even think about profit for the meantime. If your business is surviving, if you're making it through and you're not closing down, high five, you know? Let's knuckle together. You're good. You're already good. Yeah? Or elbow bump. Right. What else? That was such a general question though. What advice do I have for people? That's really it. Recognize where you are. Recognize yourself. Be still for a moment. You know? We came from such a fast-paced society. Maybe this was also a way for the world to tell us that we were moving too fast as well. Right? Mars is agreeing. Expound on collective trauma. I don't know. I'm just drawing that personally. 8 years ago, I found out that I was diagnosed with mental health disorder. You know what? I touched on it. I talked about toxic masculinity, and for Filipino men, we don't talk about mental health because it makes you less of a man, they said. We were raised like that. So yeah, let's talk about that. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder too, and it was really hard for me to go through this whole experience. And I think people should recognize that if you feel like you haven't get diagnosed, get therapy. Things like that. You go through that. Yeah, there. I agree with that. Maybe this is a time to focus on our humanity more than economics or money or profitability. Maybe right now we should actually recognize the true Filipino culture of bayanihan. We keep saying it every time there's a disaster, when there's a typhoon or an earthquake. You know what? Let's do that. Right? Let's actually apply the bayanihan concept and actually heal as one for real and support each other as one. Right? Let's show that culture right there. Which, by the way, comes from a very, very great history. Again, shameless plug on our course, which you can learn in Module 4. Oh, thank you so much, Watermelon. That means a lot to me. Thanks so much for the kind messages. Always appreciated. That's Watermelon, by the way. That's Joseph, good friend of mine. Took our tours before. I think you were still working with St. Luke's back then. Yeah, if I remember correctly. Wonderful. Early part of my career. I think I was still with DOT also at that time. Yeah. Questions. Well, if there are no questions from our viewers, I'm gonna go back to my little cheat sheet right here. Inspiring message. Do you have any inspiring messages to our viewers? I think you should learn to recognize your humanity and learn more of self-love and self-care. What's a historian, a cultural expert talking about that, right? That seems so crazy. I study people as a whole. I study patterns of culture. I study patterns of humanity. I've spent the last 12 years tracing how big events like this destroy entire civilizations. And you know what's always missing there? What's always missing there is people forget their humanity. People fail to embrace the stillness in them. People stop stopping. Those individuals, they don't just stop and they are swept in the wave of the events that are going on around them, and they stop moving with it. So, we have a question: virtual tours through Google Maps. We're looking into it. Again, we're exploring all available technologies. At the moment. We've had a couple of companies reach out to Manila For A and Cultural Intelligence to make that happen. I think the problem is everything just really happens so abruptly. So we're trying to make it work and to see what makes sense. So I guess people are still developing the technology for that as well, trying to readapt certain technologies for that as well. But I can guarantee you, definitely, if something's logical, we want to get on it. So if you have that technology, if you're watching right now, please reach out. We'd love to collaborate. We want to collaborate. Yeah? We want to be there. I want to bring people back to Intramuros, to the National Museum. Oh, we have such a wonderful tour of the National Museum and no one books it. Right? Everyone's in Intramuros. They do the food tour in Quiapo to learn about our Muslim brothers and sisters. Shout out to our Muslim brothers and sisters as well. By the way, they had it a little bit harder down south as well. And Noni, special shout out to Noni and Paul for what? Thanks for watching. Noni, of course, is one of the more closest Muslim friends that I have, and he teaches me a lot about the Muslim culture. And I would not be as open-minded about Muslim culture if it wasn't for him. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to taking a tour of the National Museum. We have such a wonderful tour there. If you've never been, I believe they are now part of the Google Arts project. You can actually have a virtual tour on your own of the National Museum. And you can look at Juan Luna's amazing artworks right there. They have a great collection. And if you take my tour there, we can even talk about Juan Luna's life, because he's not really that great of a hero if you know what he did to his wife and how he traumatized his son. So, I'm not going to answer that right now, so you have a reason to book. Sorry, it's not to make money, guys. No, seriously, he killed him. So, right. Not his son. Killed his wife and mother-in-law, and then got off with a slap in the wrist. No. When will the National Museum open? I wouldn't know now. Probably when we stabilize. From what I hear from the Department of Tourism and my friends there, they're not like resting on their laurels. They are establishing protocols. They are establishing guidelines. I suppose when things are a little bit more stable, we'll start seeing easing off and opening those places. But so far, no news as of yet. At least not that I've heard of. For Intramuros, though, we're a little bit closer with the individuals there. They're doing rapid testing of the 4 barangays of Intramuros, and I'm hoping that when they've stabilized that area, they may allow a limited amount of individuals to go through the gates. We'll see. Okay, I only have a few minutes left. Do you guys have any questions that you'd like to ask? Things you want to talk about? Personally, I'd like to talk more about my favorite artworks and stuff. Oh, Cheeto? Oh, Cheeto's watching. Hey, Cheeto. Great to have you here. Say hi. So, Cheeto is one of our team members. I hope you get to tour with him soon. He is our expert for religious artworks, particularly Catholic religious artworks. He has a wonderful tour of the Manila Cathedral that we were supposed to launch just before COVID hit. Again, really just stillness. We're not even that disappointed with it now, because one day we're all going to go back, we're going to look back at these series of events, and we're going to say, you know what, we found ourselves. I'd like that to be our end result here. Like, we found ourselves. Oh, hey Ria! Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me. So, a friend of mine just logged in, Ria. Ria is from Caribbean Farms. She got me into urban gardening, which we're all doing start this Saturday, 2 p.m. That is the module on that day starts on how the Filipinos arrived in the Philippines, how our indigenous peoples got here, 750,000 BCE, and we call it Orphans of the Pacific, and we try to delineate how we became the people that we are today, leading up to colonization. Anything else?
Macro Aquino is saying that listening to you makes him miss Carlos Sildran.
I miss him too. He was a good friend. I don't know, that makes me very happy. There's such validation, but also makes me very sad. He was taken from us too soon. 46. It's not a good memory. But yeah, I miss him too. If that's us watching, I'm sorry for your loss. Oh boy, that's a very nostalgic, but also very depressing topic, right? It was too sudden. It was too soon. But thank you for that. That's so validating.
Mars today would like to ask if you can recommend any local brands that are ideal to give as souvenirs that have a strong sense of local identity.
Ooh, local brands or souvenirs that have a strong sense of local identity. I'm too buried in my books to go shopping. Tell you what, I'm gonna get back to you on that. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna ask my friends, and I will follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And within the next 48 hours, I'm gonna research that and see. Yeah. All right. Anything else, you guys want to say? Got a few more minutes. Anything you want to talk about? Again, join us on our course. It's just 8 weeks, 11 hours. Particularly, again, I really want to talk about the Marcos era with you guys at the end of that course. It's research-backed, data-driven, and not even like our data. It's literally data from the Marcos era that Marcos had to submit as part of as the Marcos government had to submit as part of their loan agreements that put us into heavy debt. We explore, that lesson is going to make you so depressed because we explore how if they just didn't put us in that much debt, we could be so much better than Singapore is today, for example. Right? One of our modules there as well is a better reading and a better exploration of the Philippine Revolution, because we take a human approach to how our heroes lived. We talk about how Jose Rizal and his childhood trauma with racism and having to watch the Gombosa priest getting executed by Garrote made him who he was. We talk about the issues of classicism and how it drove them into revolution. Alright, questions?
Dr. Dizon says that you should do something like this at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. as an after-dinner talk.
Thank you so much. That's so flattering. You know what? I'll consider it. Let's see. I've been thinking about it for a while, but there was just so many things happening. But again, this whole experience taught us, or should have taught us, stillness and learning how to sit and contemplate. Maybe I'll finally find that stillness for myself as well and do something like this. At the very least, more often. I'd love to thank Art Plus for giving me this opportunity, of course. And don't forget that you can get issue 56, where I am, along with all the back issues, right on their website. Go ahead and visit Art Plus Magazine's online shop. Thank you so much for that. And for everyone else, thanks so much for coming to my TED Talk. Okay, if there are no more questions, that just about does it. I have 2 more minutes for last few questions. Thanks so much again to my friends. Thanks so much to my family. Thanks so much for my dad. My mom's probably watching there as well. I hope my brothers are there as well. Tita Chu, everyone, Noni, Chito, Paul, you're all there. Doc, you're all. Ria's even there. Mars, thanks so much for joining. Who else is there? Oh, BJ is there. Ronnie Vampire, always. I've been friends. I think BJ is one of my oldest friends. We've been friends since college. Man, thank you so much for hopping on and giving me an hour of your time. Tita Chu, oh, always there for me. Hi, hi, hi. Thank you so much for joining. And for everyone else, thanks for spending an hour here. We ramble on. Sorry? Oh, B, you're here, right? Andre, B, is Jamie there? Yes, B, Jamie, Andre, Anne's probably there. Anne, say hi to D-Dan for me. Feed her some lemons and take a video. That'll be fun to watch. So yeah, thank you so much again for giving me an hour of your time. Thanks to Art Plus Magazine. Thanks to Danny. Thanks for everyone. This has been amazing. This has been an amazing experience. I've never really considered this. I feel kind of offish when I'm taking video of myself. Feels weird, but I guess if people are willing to listen, I'd love to talk about Philippine history and culture more often. Thanks so much. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see more of you in our crash course, Philippine history. Have a great evening. Stay safe.